like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, July 20th, 2026. Do you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson?
Present.
Councilor Johnson?
Present.
Councilor DeWall?
Present.
Mayor Ward's also in attendance. Please let the minutes reflect Councilor Peterson is on an excused absence and everyone else in attendance. Looking for a motion to approve the pre-agenda minutes from July 6th of 2026.
So moved.
Councilor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to approval of the City Council regular minutes on July 6, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilor Johnson made a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Benson.
I have a recommendation for the council. We have an item that will make us go into a closed session, and if we could push the bills up, and so people didn't have to wait to hear that, I
Awesome.
think that would be appropriate.
Thank you, Councilor. You heard the recommendation from Councilor Benson to move the bills ahead of number 7. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that correction?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Johnson seconded it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to the comment suggestion from citizens present period of the meeting. The City of Proctor welcomes everyone to tonight's meeting. The council will now open the public comment suggestion period of the meeting. This is a time set aside for members of the public, whether here in person or watching from home, to address the council on matters related to city business. Each speaker will be granted up to 3 minutes, and before you begin, please state your name and city where you reside for the record. If you're here representing an organization or the media, you're welcome to include that as well if you'd like. The council will listen to all comments, though we are not required to respond or take action during this portion of the meeting. Recording and photography are welcome, provided they don't disrupt the meeting or prevent others from being heard. All speakers are expected to maintain decorum and respect. Obscene, profane, threatening, or disruptive language or behavior will not be allowed. Anyone who continues to disrupt the meeting after a warning may be asked to leave or be removed under the presiding officer's authority to preserve order at this meeting, as provided by Minnesota Statute Section 412.191, Subdivision 2, and Chapter 31 of the Proctor City Code. Once the public comment suggestion period concludes, the council will move on with the agenda, and no further public comment will be taken unless recognized by the mayor. If you'd like to speak, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6268 to participate remotely. We'll pause briefly to give everyone a chance to join us, and I believe we have Superintendent Tim Reuter here, if you'd like to speak yet.
Good evening, Mayor Ward and Council. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and give you an update on some things from the Proctor School District. Tim Reuter, by the way, R-O-H-W-E-D-E-R, Proctor Public Schools. And I was back in January. I told you, our mission and vision is that we're driven by purpose and powered by community to educate, engage, and inspire. And that powered by community piece is really important. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out to our different community partners and townships and city to work together to provide a great experience and education for our students. So I'll be here every January and July to give you a little update on things and to answer any questions you might have. But I guess the first thing I'd just like to share is a little bit about our facilities. We spent a lot of time here this last year doing a facilities assessment of all of our facilities in our district, including our recreational areas and fields and whatnot. We've gotten the results of that assessment, and so the next step in this process is to develop a community task force that's going to be made up of not only school personnel but also citizens of our district and the City of Proctor to look at the assessment results and to set some priorities and come up with a plan of kind of how we're going to move forward. What we're going to continue to invest in and what we're going to not invest in, and what we're going to do differently with the different buildings and issues that we have uncovered. And so with that, you know, as we go through that process, I'll continue to update the city on plans that are coming forward with regards to our facilities. One of the things we did also here this spring is we took part in the CRG mapping program with St. Louis County. So all of our facilities were mapped so that our first responders and emergency personnel will have a detailed map of all of our facilities and buildings, so that they'll better understand where they're going and what they're looking for if they come into our buildings. And so that was a project done by the county, and it just completed. So our SRO and police officers, our fire department will all get a booklet with very detailed maps of all of our buildings. So they'll be able to make reference to those as they respond to things here in our facilities. Part of the facilities assessment was looking at parking. I know that's something that has been addressed recently by the safety committee, and put up some signs, which, you know, some I'll be meeting with Chief Rebo about, just to talk a little bit more about that and to figure out ways that we can work together to make sure parking is safe and it provides safety for our community. And definitely is a priority on our list for our facilities is figure out the parking issue. We do have some land around our high school, middle school that we could potentially expand some parking. So that's something that we'll be looking at here in the next year. And then finally, I do have, this is called the Riddle Report. It's just hot off the press. It's basically everything you want to know about Proctor School. So I'll give each of you a copy so you can quickly reference who you can contact for different things. I'll leave a couple extra for the office, but it's something that I want to make sure each of you have so that you have a quick reference for getting a hold of people in the district that you need to get a hold of for different information. Any questions?
Anyone have questions for Superintendent Reuter? I would like to apologize. We talked about you a little bit. I figured your ears were burning when you walked in, but at our pre-agenda meeting, we talked about those signs going up, and there was some miscommunication there. We thought we had notified you, and maybe we did, maybe we didn't, whatever it may be, but Chief Rebo is going to reach out to you to have that conversation, so.
Yeah,
And
we'll
then,
work it out.
and then he was going to also ask about winter parking, what your plans were at your event center, if it,
Yep.
doing what you did last year, or what you had in mind there, but, so apologies there, but we'll have the communication.
Yep, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
So anything else for Tim? Good. No, we appreciate the open door though, and vice versa here, right? It's good if we can be a partner and work together, so. Is that my nephew in that suit?
No.
Okay.
No, you can always wear the suit if you'd like.
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Give me 2. We can reach out to you if we need more.
Next.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, Tim. Or Superintendent Reuter. All right, we hear no other comments or suggestions from anyone present, so we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Counselor DeWald made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That brings us to number 4. Clerk advises council. Letter A, project updates. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give some updates on some projects that we're continuously trying to get done in the city of Proctor. Our chiller replacement project will be had started this week. It's about a month-long project, and that is one of the final steps towards the HVAC improvements that we've been doing. The city garage, new garage has just a few more items on the punch list, very minor, so you're approving the final payment, and city staff and PUC members have been working on that punch list for our utility meter reader to move into his new office. The city hall windows was a part of this 2026 budget to be replaced. We've had some assessments done to them, and the good news is that they're still in good shape. They just perhaps resealing them in interior and exterior will get us by and provide some energy efficiencies to them. So we may be looking at using that money that we budgeted
on some door replacements, especially in this heat and moisture. The doors are expanding and contracting, and they're not shutting well, and there's just issues with them. We're waiting on language on the agreement for the bonding bill to move forward with the utility infrastructure improvements and extensions. Watching that, and you've seen in your communications, we got denied for a couple grants for our Munger Trail Spur, but we'll continue to find grant funding and make applications. Sometimes it takes a couple go-arounds to get those projects funded. Pickleball bids will be going out very shortly, and we're hoping for a fall construction start. If that doesn't get done, the base of the courts will be put in the fall and then finishing in the spring.
Cool. Any questions for Administrator Rich before I ask? Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Benson.
A Kingsbury Creek update?
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was, the Kingsbury Creek project was supposed to start this week. We ran into, not we, Soil Water Conservation District ran into some problems with their permit from MPCA, but they're working diligently to try to get that reserved. They are under a time frame. They have to be out of the stream by September 15th. So everyone is aware of that deadline. That's a trout stream regulation. And they will start just south of the bridge and work their way down to the golf course.
Go ahead.
I'm just kind of curious, are they going to be able to do the entire segment in that shorter time, or is this a project that gets carried over?
The stream restoration will get done this year. The other parts of it are the green infrastructure and plantings will get done next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the chiller project, will the air be out in the building during that whole month, or?
No, there will be brief interruptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bring fans. Dog days of summer, you know? And then I just wanted to comment on the 2 grant programs that Administrator Rich hit on earlier. It's, you know, it's unfortunate that we get denied on the grants, but it's very nice to see on our agendas that we're applying for grant opportunities. I think we've applied for a lot of grants in the recent past, so thank you for doing that. Grant money is always helpful for small communities, so let's keep trying. Any other questions directed at Administrator Rich? Hearing none, we'll move to 5 under unfinished business. Any news on letter A, legislative agenda?
Nothing from you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Hearing none, we'll move to 5B, project labor agreement implementation. I believe that was discussed last meeting, that we'll do that in, not next meeting, but the one after that, I think. So that would be what, second meeting in August, I think. But any discussion on it before we move on? Hearing none, we'll go to 6, new business, letter A, finance director employment agreement. In your packet is the finance director agreement for Lori Johnson, July 20th, 2026, December 31st, 2028. Is there a motion for approval or a motion for discussion?
I'll move the approval.
Councilor Benson made a motion for,
I'll second for discussion.
then Councilor DeWall made a second. Any discussion, Councilor DeWall?
Just assuming it's a typo under 4. If you read that first sentence. Per month. Not per week.
Yeah, just a typo. That's a very generous
first
vacation
part.
schedule.
520 a year, yeah.
The first part I understood.
Yep,
From our discussion, I'm assuming it just was a
yep,
typo.
yep, I see 2 there. Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Or on the whole agreement?
I had nothing else.
Hearing none. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye to approve with that one correction. Aye.
I
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Lori. Brings us to 6B, 2025 audit presentation and acceptance resolution 20-26. With us today, we got Zach with Whipfly, and I believe you're going to give us a little presentation. And we got time, but I'm assuming you're not going to go through all 91 pages.
I'm not. So, my name is Zach Sharp. I'm here on behalf of Whiffley. Mayor mentioned you should have a couple of documents electronically. I believe you have received. One is the full 91-page financial statement. Another is a PowerPoint presentation slide document. I will be going through the slide document for the sake of time, in order to point out some of the highlights that are in the financial statements themselves. Obviously, the statements take a lot of time to put together. That's why they're 91 pages. So, if there are any questions on things that I don't touch on today, feel free to reach out to Mayor, to City Administrator, and they can reach out and we'll get those answered for you. But otherwise, I will plan to just go through the, 14 or 15 slides here and go through some highlights. So, what I'll be going through today is the audit and financial statements for the city for 2025, year ending December 31st. So, if you look at the second slide in that deck, titled Auditor Responsibilities, this just explains what do you guys essentially pay us to do. So, our job as your auditor is to issue an opinion on those financial statements, to issue a report on compliance and internal controls over the financial reporting process, and also the state of Minnesota has its own legal compliance requirements that must be followed, and we issue a report on the compliance of those as well. So, if we go to the third slide, auditor results, what are the results of those three documents that you'll find in the full report? Number one, we're giving an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. What does that mean? That's essentially a clean opinion. That's what you as a council would want to hear. It essentially means that we believe everything in that larger 91-page document to be materially correct. Obviously, as your auditors, we can't look at every single transaction throughout the year. So we have to use our discretion, our thresholds to test items above a certain amount. And so that's why we use the term materially correct, because obviously we don't know to the dollar that every number in there is perfectly correct, but we say that materially correct. Secondly, we also test your internal controls and financial statement processing around reporting. There was a change this year that I noted. You have no findings this year, which is obviously great. You in the past had two, or at least in 2024 had two findings. Both of those are deemed resolved or corrected. One of them was of your doing and one of them was of our doing. I will explain that. The first, or I guess it'd be number two on this specific slide, material audit adjustments. Last year we had some corrections that we made throughout the audit process when Leslie was here to make corrections that we deemed to be materially different from what was given to us. Therefore, we had to issue a finding just noting that we made a material change. That was not the case in 2025. We made some smaller corrections, but what we deemed immaterial, that are reflected throughout the numbers in the statements, but not a large enough quantity that meet that materiality threshold. Secondly, financial statement preparation. This is the one that's sort of our doing, and for the way we interpret this finding. So in the past, I guess I should explain, on our end, the overseer of the engagement, the partner at our firm, changed hands this year from one governmental partner to another. They interpret this item differently. Under the old way of thinking, it was basically, if we help you put your financial statements together, then that's a finding, no matter what, unless you prepare the statements yourself. Kind of under the new way of thinking, we make that determination more of a responsibility. So we essentially say that the statements we can help you put them together, but they're still, your responsibility, and you have to when we give you a draft, the city administrator looks over it, reviews it, and essentially approves it even before we get to this process where the council approves it. And so therefore, we don't deem that a finding anymore. So you guys get credit for no findings this year. Like I said, one that you corrected yourself, then one that we've sort of reinterpreted on our end. But overall, again, no findings on internal controls or the financial statement process.
Can I ask a
Yep.
question real quick?
Yep.
Is that with every auditor or just with?
So that's what we've done on our end. Like I said, it's technically, people can probably interpret that differently. Not, some auditor might be under a different way of thinking. It's up for them to come to that
Every audit
conclusion.
I've ever seen that has that opinion at the end, saying,
Right.
because you guys do it.
Yep. And every pretty much audit that we had done to this last about year and a half, we've started to change and remove that finding on a lot of ours. So yeah, it's up to kind of the overseers and interpretation, and we are starting to pull that finding away and give the responsibility to the entity rather than us. Finally, the last bullet point there, no findings for noncompliance for the state of Minnesota statutes that we test, things such as that are state specific, that they want you to have collateral for all of your deposits, anything that you have over in your bank accounts and investment accounts over $250,000. Make sure that those are collateralized. We test for that. Things like that were great this year. Other things, in the past, I was here that we test bidding requirements to make sure that everybody is going through the proper bidding processes for larger projects and equipment, things of that nature. Nothing to, no findings to report on that this year either. So that's sort of the auditor findings results section of the presentation. Now we're going to start jumping into some numbers. So if we go to slide 4, which is titled Financial Snapshot by Governmental Fund, the balance sheet assets. We're going to go through assets, liabilities, and fund balance for some of your larger funds, what we deem to be major funds in the statements. So here on slide 4, you'll see that top row is general fund, a couple of your larger debt service funds, and on the far right column, there's non-major governmental funds, which sort of lumps everything else together. You have a number of funds. I don't have them listed out anywhere in this presentation, but smaller debt service funds, maybe smaller projects. Can't remember if you guys have fire or cemetery or anything like that, but what we call other special revenue funds. But those are all lumped together as they fall under a threshold that we deem non-major. So you'll see on the bottom line there in total assets within each of those funds, bottom right corner, about $12.5 million or so in total assets. I would say half of that, a little over half of that is in cash and investments. You guys have cash in the bank, cash in your investment accounts. I think you guys have made good use, I believe, of CDs and some other investments. So the majority of your assets is in your cash and investment accounts. Some of the other significant ones, special assessments, receivables is over $600,000. You guys have, a few $100,000 in assessments that you have assessed that you expect to collect over the coming years. And then some of the other larger ones towards the bottom third of the slide, advances from other funds. That one will come up. We'll talk about here when we get to your water and sewer funds as well. What that line item is just a balance. There's no outside effect. It's just an internal effect. One fund is essentially advancing money from the other. I believe that comes from, like I said, we'll see on your water and sewer side. But on those bonds, essentially the governmental funds, those bond funds, are paying the debt off each year as the obligations are due. But a portion of that is supposed to come from your water fund, and I don't remember if it's water and sewer or water and some of the other utility funds. Is essentially assigned a portion of that debt. And so the outstanding amounts on there are the amounts due over the next 30 years or however long that debt is outstanding. for their portion. So again, it's just sort of a net zero as a city, but it's just accounting between various funds internally. If we move to slide 5, essentially the same column headings, and then we're going to talk about some of the liabilities and fund balances. Top third of the slide is liabilities. Not a ton to report here. Some amounts that we call accounts payable and accrued wages, a few $100,000 there, which is essentially just timing for amounts paid in, for here it would be early 2026 that relate back to 2025. So about $1.2 million in liabilities overall. Again, you'll see a due to other funds there, some internal balances that are due from one fund to another. The highlight of probably this slide would be the bottom third, fund balances. So if you look in your bottom right, kind of second line from the bottom, total fund balances, this is sort of your total position and balance left, is about 9.25 million as a city. And then you'll see the 5 lines above it, it's broken down about what types of fund balance that 9.25 million is. So non-spendable is sort of self-explanatory. It's already been spent. It is actually unspendable. So it's not like something you can carry forward and use, as those dollars have already been spent. That's about $142,000 or so. You'll see the biggest bucket there is restricted. So you have over $7 million in restricted fund balance, which essentially means you have assets and balance that are designed for a specific purpose. So a lot of times that's going to be you'll see the bond funds are restricted, therefore the money in those funds is used to pay the bond or the debt off on those bonds. It can't be used for anything else. There is about $3 million in restricted dollars in the general fund as well. So there's actually a slide in here that breaks down what's in those restricted amounts. But for the most part, a big chunk of that fund balance is restricted. The one I will point out is the unassigned. So about $1.4 million or so is in that unassigned bucket. That is your discretionary funding that you can kind of carry forward and use. I don't want to call it excess, but it's the dollars that you guys can use as a council to budget forward and spend on future expenditures as you please. $1.4 million. So if we move to slide 6, apologies if this one is a little small, it squeezes onto this slide, but this is essentially a revenue and expense statement for these same funds that we've been talking about for the last few minutes. General fund is your biggest fund. You'll see that there's about $4.44 million in revenue. Majority of that is your taxes and what we call intergovernmental. A lot of that is state funding that comes in from the state of Minnesota. Other revenues to point out in other funds, looks like $500,000 in the capital projects fund. I believe that was a state grant that had come in during 2025. That was even $500,000 for one of your specific projects last year. That was a bigger revenue. Otherwise, just some various charges for services, license and permits. You guys earned about $244,000 in interest income. So that's a pretty significant amount that you guys earned on your cash investments as well. If we move to expenditures, you have about $3.6 million in expenditures in your general fund. Overall, about $4.25 million in expenditures in these funds. A lot of that, this is just broken down by entity type, general government, public safety, streets and highways, those sorts of things. I don't have anything specifically that I'm going to call out there. But if you get to essentially the third line the fifth line from the bottom, net change in fund balance, this is essentially your increase or decrease, your net profit per se, even though this is not a profit entity. Net change in fund balance, far right, about $1.14 million increase from the prior year, with the over half of that being in your general fund, just shy of $700,000. To get to your bottom right value that we saw on a previous slide, about $9.25 million in total fund balance overall. So on slide 7, we will, one way to sort of look at the values we just talked about, the revenues and expenditures, is compare that to what you had budgeted for. So the middle column on this slide is exactly what we had just looked at on the previous slide. The budgets are in that left column, and then in the right column it shows any variances over or under what you had originally budgeted for. So I'm not going to point anything out necessarily other than just the totals. Total revenue, you guys have got about $339,000 or so more in revenue than you had budgeted for. You guys also spent about $534,000 more in expenditures. Or actually I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's on the good side. You actually spent $534,000 less in expenditures than what you had budgeted for. Therefore, if we get to again, that third line from the bottom, you had budgeted in your general fund for $138,000 loss. You had just shy of a $700,000 increase, so that was a net difference of $831,000. So that's just another way to kind of look at the previous slide, budget versus actual. As we move forward, slides 8, 9, and 10 are essentially what we had just looked at, except now we're talking about your what we call proprietary funds. What funds are that? That is your public utilities fund, your sewer fund, your liquor store fund, and the golf course is a small fund as well. So slide 8 is your assets and deferred outflows. Again, majority of your assets here are going to be in 2 buckets. Cash being over half of them, over $10 million in cash in these 4 funds. It's actually 3 funds because the golf course fund doesn't have any standing cash as of the end of the year. And then in the middle part of the slide, capital assets. Obviously, these funds have a lot of capital assets that are depreciated throughout the years. Makes sense that your public utilities and sewer fund have a lot of infrastructure, buildings, equipment, sewer lines, water lines, things of that nature to make up a large asset balance as well. So overall, about $20 million in assets, again, make mostly cash and capital assets. Moving forward to slide 9. Liabilities and net position. Not a ton to talk about on the liability side. That top third, current liabilities, again, similar to some of the other slides. Smaller amounts in accounts payable and unearned revenue, accrued wages, things of that nature. Non-current liabilities, that advances from other funds pops up again. I had talked about it 4 or 5 slides earlier. On the general fund side and the debt service side, this is where is the other side of the equation. On your proprietary funds, you can see that public utilities and sewer each owe over $1 million there as their portion of the outstanding debt obligations, I believe on your 2018A and 2023A bond obligations. So over the next however many years, 20, 30 years, as those debt gets paid off, that's the portion that is owed by those funds over that time. Bottom third, net position, shows about $16.5 million in net position in these funds. Essentially 50-50 in terms of what that consists of. That's about half of that is invested in your capital assets, and about half of that, $8.44 million, is what we say unrestricted. So again, can be used, carried forward and used as discretionary and budgeted spending in future years. Getting towards the end here, page 10 is just the same 4 funds, revenues and expenses. We can look at it from that top quarter is operating revenues, so essentially your charges that you charge for utilities and sales at the liquor store, just shy of $6 million in total. You can see it broken down by fund. Same thing, operating expenses. This one, compared to the other slide, has a little bit more detail of exactly what your expenditures are. Obviously, your biggest expenditure is what we call cost of sales. So on the utility side, that I know you guys purchase, I believe, water and electricity So you can see what your revenues over the cost of those sales are. And then a liquor store, obviously you purchase inventory and merchandise to sell. That's your biggest expense over there. And then personnel, salaries, and benefits, that's usually going to be one of your other biggest expenditures. So overall, between all three funds, about $5.6 million in total operating expenditures. And you can see an operating income of just shy of $350,000 in total across all funds. Then there's some non-operating revenues and expenditures as well. So some interest expense, some interest income. We had said, I think, $200 and some thousand on the general and government side. You earned an interest. You earned another $400,000 in interest on the utility and liquor store funds as well. So a nice chunk in your investments of income there. So we get to the bottom right corner. Again, that's where that $16.6 million number pops up. That's your ending net position across these four funds. So now we're getting to the last few slides. Slide 11 is just sort of a synopsis of the larger document itself. If someone was to open the larger document, they would see that probably 2/3 of it is the notes to the financial statements. That's where a lot of the reading is involved in the statements overall. And so there's 14 different notes in there. I just put the heading of what each note is. If anybody wanted to know more information on the receivables, the capital assets, some of those interfund transactions that I had talked about, you can read those in the footnotes of the financial statements. So a couple of those footnotes I did highlight in slides 12 through 14. On slide 12, I did highlight the long-term obligations. Talked about it a decent amount so far. You can see that there are still about just over $8 million in obligations, debt and leases and finance purchase agreements, things of that nature. It just breaks down kind of the different types of long-term debt on slide 12. On slide 13 and 14, I had spoken about those different fund balances. This is just a more detailed breakdown of what those fund balances are. Slide 13 has the non-spendable, committed, and unassigned amounts. I'm not going to point anything out there specifically, but those are there for reference. And then slide 14 has, we had talked about over $7 million of your fund balances in restricted funds. This is a nice breakdown of what exactly that is. Why is there $7 million? Well, the money is tied up for these 8 to 10 different items to total about $7 million. So that is the final slide that I have. So the final slide is just to thank you guys for your time. I know I talked for, 15 or 20 minutes. So if anyone has any questions, I will go ahead and try to answer them, or as I mentioned before, if there's anything I leave you unanswered today, feel free to reach out and we can get those answered for you at a later time as well. So again, thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Does council have any questions for Zach?
Only to say it was 23 minutes.
23 minutes?
Yeah.
That might be a record for me. So.
No questions for the auditor?
How do we Mr. Mayor, if I might, how do we compare with similar cities as far as the percentages go on? Or is everybody unique?
Everybody is unique. I will say I don't have, we do a handful of other cities. I don't necessarily have, obviously, the numbers in front of me to be able to compare, to make a good comparison, I would say. So I will probably avoid speaking on it, but I would, I wouldn't say there's anything out of the ordinary that we don't normally see in your statements. So I can say that. But in terms of numbers, I shouldn't say without knowing for sure. But I think, if someone wanted to check, I think that information is obviously publicly available as well. So I think you can reference if there's other cities that you have in mind that you see yourselves in comparison to, per se, in terms of size or geography or wherever. I think that information is available as well. It's not
Thank you.
necessarily just from us.
If there's no other discussion for Zach, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 20-26, resolution accepting the 2025 audited financial statements.
So moved.
Counselor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Perfect. That will bring us to 6C, 8th Avenue resurfacing bids. In your packet is a memo from SEH with 3 bids on it, and the low quote of $170,700 by KTM Paving, Inc. Is there a motion to accept that bid?
So moved.
Counselor Johnson made the motion, seconded by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6D, St. Louis County Cooperative 2027 Chip Seal Agreement. Again, in your packet is the agreement with St. Louis County for some chip sealing throughout Proctor. Is there a motion to approve the St. Louis County cooperative agreement with St. Louis County? I'll go ahead and make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That'll bring us to bills for approval. Looking for a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $157,621.09. I'll go ahead and make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. And that'll bring us to number 7, closed session. This portion of the meeting will be closed as permitted by Minnesota State Statute Section 13D.03 to consider labor negotiations, and Minnesota State Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3C to consider offers for the sale of property. Is there a motion to go into closed session at 6:42? I'll go ahead and make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. And we will go All right, we'll resume the regular city council meeting, and it will bring us to 7A. I'm looking for a motion to direct Administrator Rich to reach out to provider to discuss the council's direction and report back to council. Is there a motion to do so as discussed in closed session? Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 7B. We're looking for a motion to direct the negotiating committee to meet with Administrator Rich and Administrative Assistant Mizuko to discuss negotiations. Is there a motion to go along with that direction?
Moved.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That brings us to members' concerns. Councilor DeWall. Give me 1 second, I'm just did you make notes of those motions in seconds?
I got it.
Oh, you did? Cool, thank you.
That was a part of the recording, too.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Councilor DeWall, you had none? Thank you. Councilor Johnson?
I have nothing.
Thank you.
I mean, unless you want me to say my birthday is on Saturday and I'm 70.
And there's a surprise birthday for Councilor Johnson on Elmac Drive Saturday. Happy birthday on Saturday, Councilor.
Thanks.
Councilor Benson.
Just congratulations to the Proctor 10 and under baseball softball team who won the champion of champion tournaments, and they get to go down and be recognized by the Minnesota Twins, and they're 10, and they all get championship rings.
Oh, that's cool.
It is very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nice.
just congratulations to them, and always appreciate when teams spread how great Proctor is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Counselor. I just have a few, or one, I guess, maybe two. I want to commend the Proctor Fire Department. They've been busy not only servicing our community, but they've been up spending a lot of time in Ely, fighting the wildfires up there. I talked to Chief Elquist this morning. It sounded like they sent a truck up over the weekend, both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they're going to be back up there this week and this weekend. But they are in charge. They're sending one truck with 2 firefighters, and they're responsible for a 40-mile stretch from Ely to Snowbank Lake. So keep up the great work. I know they already got a lot on their plate, as Chief Elquist reported last meeting, but for them to go up and help that area, that's cool, and stay safe, I guess. Other than that, I got nothing else. Administrator Rich.
I have nothing there.
Thank you. Attorney Hanka. Thank you. With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:55. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose. Motion passes. Thank you.